doubt 'cause of what they think we ought to be. What they lost in love.
Hello.
The bones speak. They say, you are one of the 3 people on this planet who can save the whole earth.
Buddhism is often listed as the 4th largest religion in the world. In South Africa, it is usually said it is an adopted religion. Since 1980, various Buddhist centers have sprung up in the country, including a number of Tibetan Buddhist centers belonging to a variety of sects. Even though the growth is not exponential, there are South Africans who have found refuge and home in the Buddhist faith. This documentary focuses on the influence of Buddhism, specifically Tibetan Buddhism, and the journey of 3 South Africans whose lives have been touched and changed significantly.
You know, the minute you start to get into Buddhism, you know, be the best Christian you can be the best Sangoma you can be.
The strength with Buddhism is it's non-territorial. It doesn't kind of strip you away from what you believe in.
And I was like, who is this His Holiness?
I think, like a lot of Westerners getting involved with Tibetan Buddhism, I really knew nothing.
Recently, the prince met with the Chinese ambassador, and he said, remember, we are not enemies of China, but we are friends of Tibet.
Never create fight, never create indifferences, always trying to lead us to the peace, harmony, loving kindness path.
Since 2001, I've been practicing Buddhism. I came to it via meditation.
It's not about flying, having vivid dreams, predicting the future.
I get into Buddhism, I'm not really aware, except, the only time I was introduced to the East is when I saw Karate Kid.
Remember, from where I grew up, okay, the Indians, the only thing that was witchcraft, and then the Chinese, the only thing that I heard, or the Japanese, was karate.
So in my head, I related Buddhism with Kung Fu, because, I'm a child and I'm assuming,
I think I did not know what to expect, really. I didn't know what to expect.
I was still young then, I didn't know that much.
Okay, so I'm currently known as Nyameka Sacha. Sacha is my married name, but I was born as Nyameka Masuku. I was born from Ndebele mom and a Xhosa dad. I grew up in Soweto, Johannesburg. I am one of 4 siblings. My family, they are predominantly Christians. They've always been. My grandfather was a Baptist preacher. And then on the other side, my paternal grandmother, she was a staunch Methodist. So I grew up in a family where God is highly revered, and even the values that we are taught, you know, do not steal, you must always respect your elders, very, very much infused in our cultural ways as well.
To teach you about your culture, I'll teach you with my culture, and then from there we'll respect one another's culture as human beings, as the sons and daughters of Africa or of the world.
As a Zulu man, normally you will have some traditions and custom that you do traditionally. But because my grandfather was kicked out, was an orphan, so he didn't have those family cultures. He didn't understand those rituals from the family. Same applies to my father. So my father, there was no way that he would practice the rituals of his stepfathers because you must go and practice the rituals of your father.
Yeah, and the work I've done in decolonization and indigenous knowledge, there's far more emphasis, it seems to me, in a lot of African cultures in interconnection with nature, you know, recognizing appreciation for nature.
We are connected with nature, so all elements of nature, whether it's the stars, whether it's the moon, whether it's the sun, even the plants that you see around, we connect with them even to an extent when we had to take a plant. We don't just break a plant. We would apologize, even ask the plant that we need it for meditation or even healing system. And then we would take something from us and then put it there where we took the plant. For us, it means that we have taken from nature and we put it back in nature. So for us, that balance of nature and also science, everything to do with the whole system.
But church played a very important role in who I was, to sort of help to raise my awareness as a human being, to teach me a better way of being human. But I think also what was highly emphasized is that you don't only belong to yourself, you know? There's no way in which you can thrive on your own. You always thrive with others. So the idea of individualism has just not really been key. You know, it's not something that we upheld very high. It was always the idea of community. But I think more than anything else, there was great emphasis that you need to keep that strong connection between you and your creator. And I think that really influenced a lot of who I am.
I am divinity defined. I am a God on the inside. I am a star.
Well, as a child, I read a controversial author who published himself as Tuesday Lobsang Rampa and was discovered later to be an Englishman. But he said he was possessed by the spirit of a Tibetan Lama. Of course, I didn't know any of that, and that's only more recently been uncovered. But as a child, I was very young, even before teen years, I read those novels, and to me they were exciting, and they made me nostalgic for a home that felt more like home to me than the culture I was growing up in.
They're so healthy and fluffy looking cats.
They're very fluffy.
They're cats.
I was brought up as an atheist. My dad was a big communist. So I was first generation of my family in any direction here. So I was not brought up as a Christian. I was excluded from any religious influence whatsoever.
I came from a Muslim background and I had to practice in secret. So for me, it was a bit of a challenge in the beginning.
There was no other path in spirituality that was elevated within my family. But as you interacted with different people in my community, I think I was very drawn to those they called Amazayoni. Because they would dress in a certain way, And what I find quite interesting is that, you know, when I was going to church in the morning, and you will hear the drum inside the church, which was very foreign to me, you know. And then you hear that at your friend's house, they're slaughtering a cow. And you want to go, but you're told, no, that cow is offered to idols, so you're not going to go there, you know.
Yeah, so not born into a Buddhist family, being South African, especially, you know, someone of my age, most people would have grown up in a Christian family or in a Muslim family or Jewish family, Hindus as well, but not Buddhist. So Buddhism was unfamiliar to me. I didn't know much about it at all. But when I was a bit younger, just after I left the National Service, I did some traveling overseas. And there I started to sort of inquire and sort of, you know, meeting different people from different parts of the world. I was sort of introduced, I guess, in a way, to different ideas. And then I think from there, I started to inquire and become a little bit more sort of interested in Eastern philosophy.
Of the morality, the rules, the kind of the idea of karma and all of that resonated with me, and it felt like something that I already knew.
One day, I read a book. I think I was 24, 25. I read a book called Concentration and Meditation by Christmas Humphrey. Yes, it was July 1982. Yes, and then my interest in Buddhism, especially in meditation, just grew in such a proportion that I can't stop.
Didn't have any teachers or social outlet or mirrors of Buddhism manifest in a person anywhere in South Africa. So I could only glean from what I read what you were supposed to do or how you were supposed to do it.
And I'm not sure that it was just possibly at the time in 1999. It was just after we had the first elections where, you know, the government of national unity was introduced. 1999, people started, I was voting for the first time. Most people voted in 1994, you know, when a black person could not cast their vote. And in 1999, I started to vote. But I think there was also an opening, you know, of spirituality where most of us were now curious about who we were, you know. We were curious about our lineage. We were curious about izangoma nobungoma, you know. And I think that's when then my journey started. That's when my world started opening up, when I just then walked into corporate and I found a fusion of different things where people would fast for Ramadan, you know, and then they will celebrate Eid, where somebody will bring us sweets because it was Diwali, where the Jewish people I meet at work and the one they talk about in the Bible, wow, they sound like they're the same. They still uphold their rituals. They still have their Passovers, like, you know, like I've read in the Bible. And that's when I then realized that God cannot be one thing. And I think that's when my journey of seeking and being introduced to different paths began.
And with the change of government, I think it made it a lot easier for there to be a wider outlook into different religions and an interest, a curiosity of diversity, which was really strongly promoted.
We are talking about a post-apartheid country. Yes, and then during the apartheid time, black people were very they wasn't open that much into other religion. there was most of the time, they were most of the time, yes, practicing the traditional religion, and few venture in Buddhism, but very, very few.
I think that a large majority of South Africans are strongly Christian.
When I was asked to do job here, and I assumed that I will be always going to the place where sentient beings, human beings, are in the need of emotional help, from what I understand from Buddhist philosophy, which is basically the science of mind. So I'm confident that I would like to share what I know and meditation, everything. But I know who is going to be the actual recipients of the knowledge that I've gained from our monastery. So initially it was like a bit shocking, because I get to see people I've never seen before, and I get to interact with the people who, you know, some of them who doesn't have a knowledge about the Buddhism.
We need to allow people to be exposed to different cultures, different philosophies.
In some of the courses I've taught at universities, there seems a greater interest in mindfulness.
There is this new generation, you can see them, what pushed them in retreat or meditation center is their university curriculum, because sometimes they have to study philosophy, sometimes yes, and out of curiosity they will learn.
And my interest in Buddhism first came when I just came across a video on YouTube. Yeah.
Buddhism in general is a very vast and profound system of thought. Extremely, like the Buddha taught to various levels of intellects, because he understands that not everyone will be able to understand Buddhism in one linear way. It's like for a child, for example, you're not going to tell a child, eat your vegetables because it has minerals and vitamins. The child will look at you like, what are you saying? But if you tell the child, like, eat your fruits and vegetables because you'll be strong, you can give them something to relate with.
The teachings do influence the way I think about the world, and when, you know, for example, if someone is, you know, it's like hating someone else for, you know, like they're a completely terrible person. From what I've been taught, I understand, I can go, no, well, they're under the control of strong attachment, anger, ignorance, probably. It's not in my place to hate them, and then I kind of, maybe to my friends I would say, I'd say that, but I'd say, well, they're probably going through quite a lot and you don't know what's going on in their minds, so, I mean, we can keep a distance from them, but it doesn't mean we need to hate them. It's not helpful.
Okay, so my name is Hans Njaba Bolivan. I formally became a Buddhist around 2014, around grade 10-ish. So I'm currently, you know, a student at the University of Johannesburg studying biotechnology. Both of my parents come from Cameroon. My dad is from Douala, my mom's from Yaoundé. And they came here, they met here in South Africa, and then that's how I was born here.
Growing in a household where my mom is a Christian and my dad is a Buddhist felt very natural and non-conflicting.
So living with my parents was very fun, you know. My dad was a practitioner. Like, I remember my earliest memories of my dad. He would be prostrating, doing Tai Chi. The first mantra I think I was introduced to was the Guru Rinpoche mantra. Oh Mahong Benza Guru Pema Sidium. Because he used to play it on a daily basis.
And my mom was a praying Christian. So I would see her wake up in the morning and praying while my dad was doing his practices, and it somehow gelled perfectly together.
Till my dad, you know, gave me like an option. He's like, son, I really believe you should be free to make your own decisions. Your mom's Christian, I'm a Buddhist. venture out something that resonates with you. And then I think it was about 2013, I came to this very center. I took refuge with Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, and that's when I became, formally a Buddhist under the name of Karma Tempa Rabje.
Balden Zawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Chiwa Pede Denchola Kadrin Chenpo Gone Jisukte Kusung Tuche Nyondro Tsao Du So Dorje Changchen Zelo Naro Dang Marpa Mila Choje Gambo Pa Dusum Seja Kunken Karma Pa Cheki Chinje Gupa Zinam Dang Rita Tasum Paben Grupa So Saplam Chaga Chela Nanyepe Nyame Rogon Dakpo Kagula So and Depso Kagula Manam Gupa Zino Namta Jin Giro.
So I went through a drug phase in my life where I got caught up with the wrong crowd. To them it's like weed is the avenue because you can experience higher dimensions. And then I was thinking to myself that this is the path to spiritual enlightenment. And everything just went downhill and downhill and downhill. And then I started to get into problems with my family, my mom. Things just got worse and worse and worse. And I remember thinking to myself that I really prayed to get over this. Then lo and behold, a few months later, Lama Yeshe is coming. And I'm like, you know what? For the sake of my Lama, I'm gonna try my best. So I stayed sober for 3 weeks straight. And then he came into South Africa. Then I met him. His first words to me is like, I can tell that you do drugs. No one had, and I was stunned to like, how does he know? And I've been offered for 3 weeks, but clearly it must have been in my system, and he could sense that something's wrong with his, the channels and the meridians. This boy is definitely on something. And then I made a vow with him and he gave me this blessing cord. I've been keeping it on my neck for a very long time now, ever since then, to vow to leave drugs and stuff. And after that day, I managed to stay sober, no alcohol, no weed, no drugs, nothing like that. And that really strengthened my faith. He had such faith in me, which translated into me having faith in myself. And I was able to let go.
And I like to see people related here gradually teach peace and harmony. And then maybe, who knows, maybe we can have a small children's education, but that's only teaching how to be loving and kindness and forgiving, because that's how you change people's mind. So this is my ambition, yes.
So being young in this age and really viewing the Buddha Dharma as the guiding lights, I remember once thinking to myself that, in order to really excel with that, there's a lot that you have to give up. And that's what you might call renunciation, but putting, the ego's desires to the sides in hope for a sense of progress on the path. And I remember thinking to myself that I might just do that and then lose all my friends and just be on this path by myself, until I met the teachings of Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche. And he made me understand that Buddhism, there's the appearance and the culture of Buddhism where you would think that, okay, overtly you need to, I can't be with this person, I can't do this, I can't do that. And then you enclose yourself within the path, thinking that you're progressing, having that narrow-mindedness not to realize that I am within society.
Hans is one of the tenants at Kagyu Samyezong, Randburg, Johannesburg. Every once in a while, he volunteers at the Kensington Kagyu Samyezong to help with the soup kitchen that the center organizes.
Okay, let's hit the road.
What's
happening now is that we're going to one of the places that the center feeds. So obviously this is a feeding scheme, and every Tuesday the center organizes itself and voluntary participants to come together in such a way where they can prepare food for the community in need as its contribution towards society. Because sometimes we pursue religion instead of really fulfilling the basic needs of all human beings. And sometimes that can be dealt with by offering food to those who need some.
My name is David. I'm the Chief Marshal here today with this delivery of the soup kitchen. The soup is prepared by the KSDJ, the Kaju Summit Zone Buddhist Center in Kensington, Johannesburg. And we've served in this location for about 7 years now. Typically we have 100 to 140 men. And you'll see the men in the high-vis or reflective jackets. They're all marshals. They are from the street as well, but they help in a very, very big way in keeping the queue orderly, and also you can see they're helping with the serving. There you'll see we serve the women and children first. It's only a small women's queue today, and then sometimes the frail old men will also go to the front. What is being served is soup, but we actually call it biryani. It's quite thick. It's vegetables, and then they get 2 sandwiches, and normally 1 or 2 fruits.
My name is Chris Sibande. I'm here because I've been unemployed and I'm struggling to secure permanent employment. So I find these people very helpful, and I make sure that every Tuesday I come here to get food.
I do not need to go against the grain, but I can integrate the practices within my daily life in such a way that I can be a 25-year-old, enjoy the company of my friends, and still be a Dharma practitioner. You can integrate the practices within your daily life and not feel as though you are at odds, because fundamentally everything, according to the Tantrayana, everything is the union of emptiness and compassion, union of emptiness and skillful mean, emptiness and clarity. So being able to realize that I can integrate the Buddhist practice on a daily basis, doing the most ordinary things, but keeping in mind bodhicitta, the heart of compassion towards all sentient beings, keeping in mind pure perception, I'm able to find that sense of happiness, but knowing that I still need to commit to at least a formal practice at the beginning of my day and at the end of my day.
Chaque salwa dans chuk chik chaque pas dans Jesu jiran kushin so wa yi ge wa chuze da ki chisak patam she zok pe chang chuk chapurungo hum odjen yuji nyu chang san pe ma ke sa don paula yam tsen chuki do job ne pe ma ju ne se su da kudu kanro ma po ko cheki Jesu da group chi chi lap chi chek chu so guru pe ma si ji hong Oma umbenza guru pe masidio, 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 oma umbenza guru pe masidi hong. Dusum sanje guru rinpoche nyudrup kundakte wa chenpo chap. Barje kunsel dudrup dakposa, so wa depso jinji laktu so chinan sanwe barje chingwatan sanpa lonji dukpa jinjelo. Orjen rinpoche la so wa dep karjen barje michuchin. Tamshen sampa dupa da chok tak tomo nyu dup sol e ma ho kon chok sasam de chek kun dup nyu dup to wa ko me chap sipu tuk je luta ngo wata transol ma ha gu dup ma eruka mu gu tong shek dak po so wa dep dak dang jek dang barje che pour dok ma run chem sem chum pour dam la sok sampa lonji dupa jinjelo ge wa ji nu juja o jem pe ma trup jonye dro wa tikya ma lupa de sala go parasho.
The more I read about the 12 precepts, the more I understood the noble truth, the more I understood, the message of impermanence. I think I was more drawn to Buddhism, and I just thought, this is what I would like to give a chance in my next spiritual walk. But I'm an African. If I'm Buddhist, am I allowed to have imbeleko? Am I allowed to slaughter a sheep and introduce myself to my ancestors. And I remember the response that I got was, if that strengthens your mind, we're not saying move away from who you are, it's meant to make you to be the best human being that you can be. So what really then also drew me to it, it was not talking down on anything I was, it was embracing who I was.
It has the ability to augment your faith in. Hence, in every single country Buddhism has taken foot in, it's adopted to that culture. Tibetan Buddhism, from an appearance standpoint, may be very different to Zen Buddhism and so on, so forth and so on, but then the essence remains the same. So for me, my appreciation for Buddhism is that it enhances whatever you're doing. So sometimes when I'm with my Christian friends, I don't feel like we're at odds, because I can see the similarities and ways in which Buddhism would enhance the teachings. So being an African and practicing Buddhism, I see where Buddhism could enhance the light of Africanism, because fundamentally there is this essence of compassion, transcending the mundane, going beyond, really connecting with something that's higher than the self. So within all of these spheres, I really find them to be, they coincide perfectly. So I've never really felt at odds with my roots as an African man.
Normally all the black people practice the same as almost like Buddhism. You go on a mountain and listen to the sound. You can help them to see things clearly.
These are philosophies that my family and I believe in. We are Hindus, but we respect and admire every religion, every religious belief, because all paths lead to God, and all paths lead to us finding peace and freedom and justice in our lives.
Buddhism, we talk about not the creator, we just talk about the karma, cause and effect, we talk about like that. This is different idea, but the main thing is the both are same message is being a good person, and then same that on the day-to-day life, how do we deal with our same message, like being compassion, forgiveness, all these things are same.
I'm not come here to convert people in Buddhism. I come here to share the basic knowledge that we have, the science of mind, that share with Muslims, people who follow the Christian, so that they can become a better Christian, so that they can become a better ancestor followers, or you name it. We're burning some of those stuff that has a special medicinal properties that the plants has got, and these are also the smells and some of other stuff that you put in meditation and mantras. It makes like a duzu janzu chimbo, that means the ocean of nectars. It's become an ocean of nectars for them.
I think just the thing of meditation that really kind of calmed me down, gave me some purpose, meaning in life as well.
He's only 15, but he has expressed an interest in Buddhism from I think about age 10, when he was told he has to do his first Holy Communion. He's at a Catholic school, and he said, "Mom, I don't want to do this. This is not me." And there was a project at Scouts that the kids who were Christian could do a certain project. If they were Muslim, they could do a project. There was nothing for Buddhism. And he said, "Mom, I'm not Hindu, I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian. I'm Buddhist. I think I'm Buddhist." So I said, "Okay, well, go and see what's out there. I'll take you to whichever center you want to go to." And then we found Lam Rim. So he's found a home in Lam Rim.
I've been coming to the center since 2019. And I come here for teaching meditation and to help volunteer here.
There has been a slow increase in the centers and teachings?
Here in South Africa, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of center, but the few center where you will meet the teacher and so on, yes, they have a good program.
So obviously, I know that when you decide to be a born-again Christian, you need to find a church, right? So I thought, okay, where am I going to go? Maybe there is a place where Buddhists gather, you know? And lucky enough, when I saw Daria had the picture of the Buddha in the office, and we started to talk about the message of impermanence, I then asked her, Daria, where do you go and meet and gather and congregate? That's when she then told me that there's a few temples around Johannesburg, Nyameka. I was like, oh, really? And then the first Buddhist temple I went to was the Kensington Temple. I remember there was a teacher that was visiting from the country, and it was my first time getting into a shrine, right? And I think that was it gave me a sense of comfort that at least I have a place to go and worship and practice. And when I walked in, nothing felt foreign to me, you know. I walked in and yes, we were having some tea, and then what I appreciated was that I needed to take off my shoes before I went into the shrine. And the way that the prostrations that you need to do towards the Buddha before you actually sit and settle yourself. And it felt very familiar to me, and I think possibly that's another thing which I'm amazed about, because there were decorations of different deities. You know, you had Medicine Buddha there, you had Green Tara there, you know, and they don't look like angels, right? They're orange and green. Okay, and you think to yourself, I mean, if my mother would have walked in there, she would have said, oh my God, take me out this place, you know? But it was not foreign to me. It felt so natural, you know? But there was a curiosity to understand, does Buddhism have a God? You know, are these idols? You know, and it's when then I got to understand that it's deities, you know, and it's not really a God, because in Buddhism there is no God, you know, there's you.
As an individual, the need, the craving for Tibetan Buddhism. I mean, there's lots of kinds of Buddhism, but just something about Tibet just touches me very deeply, and what's happening there.
Tibetan Buddhism has many lineages. Buddhism has many lineages as well.
I started with Zen meditation and then met the Tibetans, and I just loved their friendliness and their outgoing and just the way that the teaching was being unfolded to me was very, very beautiful. And so I gravitated from Zen to Tibetan Buddhism.
To tell the truth, all those I met in Tibetan Buddhist family, Tibetan Buddhist tradition, even in the other Buddhist tradition, like the people from Nangwa, yes, I find something very common, that, I don't know, that level of understanding and calm.
So I think I learned the importance of the different schools of thought of Buddhism, the 4 different schools, and I also think that I've learned that we're very fortunate to have somebody like Geshe-la and Khenpo-la come and provide us with both teachings, saying mantras and prayers, and also teaching us on the different meditations. And I think it's also very good for the Sangha to come together, even if they're from the different schools.
So I was introduced into Tibetan Buddhism in 2008. And I had an opportunity to take refuge when Akon Rinpoche was around. And obviously I got my name, Karmatsomo, and my initiation book.
My name is Begingosi Kumalo. I'm from Msinga, KZN, it's deep rural areas. Currently residing in Soweto, so it's my grandfather's house.
This is Orlando West, Wazondi, Ngakane Street, is Ngakane corner, Villagazen Ngakane, 8120. Just over the corner there is 8115, Mandela's house.
The Mandela's house is a museum currently. So normally the tourists, they come there daily, yes. In 1996, there was a guy who came to this house, and then he wanted to see my grandfather, to be quite honest. By then, my grandfather has passed on. So we as a family, we didn't know the guy.
Kuzulini John Sitole. I was born in KZN in 1955. 1992, actually, Dalai Lama was invited in Cape Town by the friends of His Holiness, and then that is where I was invited to welcome His Holiness, to do a praising for him. And then from there, we begin from there to start to know each other on that day. And then he says, hey, I would like you to come to India. There will be a festival which I'm gonna organize with my people to tell you to come. You come with your group. And then I was organized. I went to India. I managed to get a time to talk to him and then understand him better, to say, Holiness, I would like you to come to South Africa, because I understand your spirituality has more of Ubuntu, which is what we have. It's unfortunate that in my country, no one who's really promoting that unity and Ubuntu and people to actually enjoying to be together, no matter what color they are, no matter what religion they are, no matter what difference of their cultures. And then he says yes.
And then he said in August 2004, His Holiness will be in the country and then would like to see the family. So personally, I didn't know who is His Holiness. I didn't know nothing, to be quite honest. Then came 2004, and then His Holiness came to our house. And then even there, I didn't know deeply what was happening, up until I saw all the tourists. So my grandfather's house now became a museum. I saw all the tourists, I saw the bodyguard. I was like, wow, this is big. This is really big, to be quite honest. And then it came, and then I was so overwhelmed. And then my mother was full of tears, to be quite honest. It's still there on the video. I was full of tears. My uncle was full of tears because they knew. I was still young then. I didn't know that much, but I could see that this is really big.
His Holiness, he was there because of that old house of Baba Nelson Mandela, the former president, Dr. Mandela. So as he was coming there, that is where he have come across with Baba Zondi. So that is why, as I was coming back with His Holiness now, as he was saying, Sitole, I want us to go there. There's a man which I've met. Say, I remember, Mr. Zondi. Say, yes, let's go. So we went around looking, not actually now, because always when we come there, Mr. Zondi, you'll be in the street. But now he was no longer there. And then only a grandmama, she was still around, and then that young man.
This young man, he want to get some help if he can further his education, because he finished his standard 10, but now he want to go further, so they don't have money to take him further.
But how much you need money for further study, for college?
holiness? For now, I don't know, but I think it's about 30,000 to 40,000.
Since we have some connection, so I will sponsor you.
Bafowethu uzokhona ukuxhaswa yonke le minyaka afunde yonke le nto ayifunayo.
Goodbye.
And then he paid for the whole education fee. So for me to get the degree, it was through His Holiness. He paid, like, it was a blessing. For the first time I went to state resident, school resident, experience the university life. He paid for so I used to eat there, to have pocket money at school, and then the whole tuition fee, including the books. So he covered everything there for the whole duration of my degree up until I completed my degree. Then that's where I started finance, which is what I'm doing here. I work for an organization called TAOI AIDS Ministry. It's an organization that helps kids holistically, especially the vulnerable and the orphaned one. I believe that it's what God brought me into this world to do, and I strongly believe, because the reason why I did a BCom in banking management, I wanted to go to the bank. But look where life brought me. I think His Holiness coming to my house and helping me, I would say some of the spirit transferred to me, and then it just came to me that this is the job that I would like to do.
From the moment that His Holiness blessed the centre, our spiritual director treated this centre the same as Bodh Gaya, because from our point of view, a Buddha has been here and blessed the centre, and it's a precious space for us to be in. So we value that more than anything, and we're dedicated to maintaining the centre, keeping it open to help as many people as possible and to fulfil His Holiness's wishes. And if we ever had the chance, we'd be greatly honoured to welcome His Holiness back to the centre for the benefit of everybody in South Africa and Africa.
So, Your Holiness, this is coming from Johannesburg, South Africa, where you visited in 2004 from the Lamrim Buddhist Center. The tree that we planted together is still standing, growing behind me here. It always reminds me of you, of course, the center and the great teachers that have come and blessed us here. My message to you from the Lamrim Center and from South Africa, and South Africans, is that we wish you a very long, healthy, happy life, that you are free from any problems and obstacles, and that your teachings will spread unceasingly throughout the universe, unimpeded, and that all your aspirations and your wishes are quickly fulfilled, and that you remain with us and stay with us until samsara's end.
His Holiness, he touched my spirit because of his kindness. That is why I believe when they call him His Holiness, that is a really holy person. That is the person that we need. The whole world actually, then they want leaders. That's the leader.
An African welcome to His Holiness Dalai Lama and Kuzulimi John Sotole.
But as they say, in the African struggle and the struggle a luta continua, the struggle continues.
The Rainbow Nation, to be a South African, is absolutely wonderful in terms of the constitution that was written. South Africa has a wonderful constitution that welcomes diversity. Corruption is a problem, and that negates our wonderful constitution. So if we could uphold the constitution more and bring in the diversity of cultures that is allowed and that is celebrated, our country will strive internationally. The more we can support and uphold in South Africa all the different cultures and representations of them so that people can have real choice.
Eventually it comes to the freedom. There's nothing more important than the freedom. So since the freedom is what the core purpose of the building nation, then you must cherish the freedom. And if freedom is not respected in any corner of the world, then you are not actually respecting your freedom as well.
Just be honest and straightforward. That's all. And I don't think His Holiness would mind, you know. He understands how the world works. He understands the sensitivities between countries and how one country influences another country.
So how a government could paint themselves in such a poor light for the sake of politics or for the sake of diplomacy is just disappointing, but that's the nature of international diplomacy. We focus on keeping the connections, trying to fulfill the wishes of His Holiness and our spiritual director, and that's how we work with it.
Even after Prince's passing, the IFP is very committed to the cause of the Tibetan people, to the pathway that the Central Tibetan administration have set for themselves.
I never really followed the Dalai Lama very closely because I think he was turned out to be a political figure, you know. But when I gave myself a chance to read some of his articles, that's when I thought there's something very powerful about the Dalai Lama that just goes beyond being a political figure.
He is there for us as a beacon.
For myself, when I first heard him speak, I heard him say, "Don't believe anything I say, try it out for yourself." So as an academic, that's a very appealing invitation.
I don't know how can I put it. I don't know. It's to meet the Dalai Lama for me is like meeting the Buddha.
He epitomizes compassion and love and peace, and that's what we all need in this world.
But I suppose my sense of connection with His Holiness, it's me.
What is it about him, according to your observation, that makes him the person he is and makes him have the effect that he has on people?
It's hard to say. He's the only person I can think of that I've ever met that is completely unique in the depth of his compassion. Sitting in the teachings is an unbelievable experience, and it's hard to describe the veneration you feel for someone that can actually do that. His ability to teach for days on end, and
well, it's not a religion as such, but it's a philosophy of life that's promoted by His Holiness, that preaches peace amongst the people, that preaches love, that preaches humanity being one.
I would like to thank His Holiness for an opportunity that he gave me to go to school and get education, because that has opened so many doors for me. But also, as I've said a little bit earlier, that whatever that is currently going through with so many countries that he has been banned to attend, you must just know that as much as he's still alive, we normally say this when the person is no more, that you didn't pass on, your spirit has just multiplied. You must know that his spirit has multiplied. The millions of people that he had touched, his spirit is living in those millions of people.
It's only through Tibetan Buddhism that I started opening my heart up in terms of really understanding who I am and where I come from, and how possibly all of that has influenced the person that I am today.
My realistic end goal is to evolve in such a way that everything I do is for the benefit of others.
Your Holiness and your people, brothers and sisters of the Tibet, oh, I salute you. My message to you people, don't go back. Don't surrender to be peace lovers. Continue to show the world that actually the human being, how they should live like.
I really believe that a world can be a better world if we work together and then we help one another.
It means Buddhism has something very unique. Buddhism can shape your inner way of seeing things. Yes, that power, that transformative power, yes, if you know how to handle it, you can be a better person.
Now is the time, because we're living now in an era where everyone is aware that now peace is almost what is needed. Look what is happening in Israel and Palestine. Shame, you know? If we're going to continue letting politicians and the rich people to lead people, leading us to death instead of leading us to life.
Lost in a world of self-doubt 'cause of what